The biggest gardening secret isn't about fertilizers, expensive tools, or perfect soil. It's about working with nature instead of constantly fighting it. Around the world, more gardeners are discovering a powerful approach called forest gardening, a method that produces food, supports wildlife, and, well, practically takes care of itself once established. Instead of rows of fragile crops that need constant attention, a forest garden grows in layers, just like a natural woodland. Fruit trees, herbs, vegetables, berries and flowers all thrive together in one living ecosystem. For anyone tired of gardens that demand endless work, yet still struggle through drought, pests or neglect, this system changes everything. A well-designed food forest becomes more productive and more resilient every year. Even if life gets busy, the garden continues growing, feeding both people and wildlife. In this guide, we're exploring how to start your own backyard forest garden, the principles that make it work, and practical ways to transform even a small space into a thriving, edible ecosystem. Before we dive in, take a moment to support the channel. Like the video, share it with fellow gardeners, drop a comment about your gardening experience, and subscribe to Evergreen Garden Life for more practical, nature-inspired growing guides. Now, let's get straight into how forest gardening actually works and how you can begin. A forest garden mimics the structure of a natural woodland, but every plant serves a purpose. Instead of a single crop dominating the space, multiple plants grow together in layers. Tall fruit or nut trees form the canopy. Beneath them grow smaller fruit trees or large shrubs. Lower still are berries, herbs, perennial vegetables, and ground covers that protect the soil. This layered approach creates stability. Each plant occupies its own space, using sunlight, water, and nutrients differently. Rather than competing aggressively, many plants support one another. Pollinator-friendly flowers bring beneficial insects that protect crops from pests. Deep-rooted plants improve soil structure and draw nutrients upward. Ground covers shade the soil and reduce weeds. The result is a living system where productivity increases over time while maintenance decreases. Instead of replanting every season, perennial plants return year after year. One of the biggest misconceptions about forest gardening is that it requires completely redesigning your garden. In reality, the best approach is gradual transformation. To begin, just identify one small section of your garden. Replace a purely ornamental shrub with a productive plant, maybe a berry bush or a dwarf fruit tree. Around that new addition, you can introduce edible herbs such as oregano, chives, thyme, or perhaps even lemon balm. These herbs, you see, not only provide food, but also attract pollinators and beneficial insects, which is really rather wonderful. As your system develops, you might want to add ground cover plants. Strawberries or low-growing herbs are excellent choices to help keep the soil protected. Over time, this small area will begin to function much like a miniature ecosystem. And honestly, once you see just how easily it works, expanding the concept across your whole garden feels like the most natural thing in the world. Successful forest gardens? Well, they rely on diversity and making use of vertical space. Instead of thinking about planting everything in neat little rows, Try thinking about stacking your plants in layers that really complement one another. It's a simple shift, but it makes all the difference. The canopy layer includes taller fruit trees such as apples, pears or plums. Beneath them sits the shrub layer, which may include currants, gooseberries or blueberries. The herbaceous layer contains perennial vegetables and culinary herbs. Below that is the ground cover layer, often made up of strawberries or creeping herbs that suppress weeds. Climbing plants can also be added, growing up trellises or even trees. Grapes or climbing beans make excellent use of vertical space while producing abundant harvests. By filling these layers gradually, a garden becomes more productive without needing additional land. A true forest garden doesn't serve humans alone. Wildlife plays a crucial role in keeping the system balanced. Pollinators ensure fruit set. Predatory insects control pests naturally. Birds and small animals contribute to seed dispersal and ecological diversity. By, leaving some berries for birds, planting nectar-rich flowers, or installing a small pond, you can dramatically increase biodiversity in your garden. Dead wood, just stacked along a fence line, can create habitat for insects, hedgehogs, and all sorts of beneficial organisms. When wildlife becomes part of the design, the garden really does begin regulating itself. Pest outbreaks decrease, pollination improves, and the whole ecosystem becomes healthier overall. Annual crops often require constant attention, sowing seeds, watering, weeding, and, protecting those fragile seedlings. Forest gardens, on the other hand, rely heavily on perennial plants that return every year without the need for replanting. This resilience becomes especially valuable when time or energy is, a bit limited. Perennials continue producing even if the gardener cannot maintain them perfectly. Once established, they tolerate weather fluctuations far better than annual crops. Fruit trees, berry bushes, perennial herbs, and self-seeding vegetables all work together to create a reliable harvest with far less effort. And over time, the garden becomes increasingly self-sustaining. Bare soil is, an open invitation for weeds and erosion. In natural ecosystems, soil is almost never exposed. Forest gardens follow the same principle by covering soil with plants. Ground covers such as strawberries, nasturtiums, or creeping herbs act as living mulch. They shade the soil, retain moisture, and prevent weed seeds from taking hold. As these plants grow and die back, they add organic matter that feeds soil life. Healthy soil biology, really improves nutrient cycling, which in turn supports stronger plant growth throughout the entire system. The most rewarding part of forest gardening is, honestly, just watching the ecosystem evolve. In the early years, fast-growing annuals can fill empty spaces between young trees and shrubs. As perennial plants mature, they gradually take over those roles. The garden changes season by season, becoming denser, more productive, and more balanced. What begins as a small experiment eventually becomes a thriving food forest. The beauty of this approach is that it works in large landscapes and small backyards alike. Even a modest garden can support fruit trees, herbs, berries, and pollinator plants working together. Forest gardening proves that food production and ecological restoration can happen in the very same space. If this guide helped you understand how to start building your own forest garden, support Evergreen Garden Life by subscribing to the channel. Share this guide with fellow gardeners, leave a comment about what you're growing this season, and stay connected for more practical gardening knowledge designed to last for generations.